Hello, everyone. After giving it a great deal of thought, I've come to the realization that where the real money is on YouTube is ASMR videos. And so I've decided that I want to join the likes of the French Whisperer and share stories with you in my soothing voice. Take a minute to get comfortable. Let my soothing voice go into your ears as you enjoy this classical story of the human condition. Are you getting off on this? I mean, that's kind of weird, right? I mean, like, are people... Do you enjoy my voice that much? Like, not that I want to know, but I kind of want to know. You should let me know. Let me know in the comments. Today, I have a very important story that I want to share with all of you. It's a classic film. A film from my youth that still speaks to us today. The story I'm sharing with you is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. It is a film that stars Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller, and it was released in 2004. So put yourself in a comfortable place. The visuals are not important unless you really want to see this. Watch, it's really cool. See, I'm better at it with my other hand though, so yeah. Okay. And the visuals are only secondary. We need to enjoy the story of Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Vince Vaughn plays a character named Peter LaFleur, and Peter LaFleur owns a gym called Average Joe's. Average Joe's gym has several regulars and a couple staff members. One of the standouts, of course, is Alan Tudyk, who plays a man named Steve, who truly believes that he's a pirate. And I'm not quite sure why he's going to a gym. They don't really get into that too much. There's also a nerdy boy who wants to be a male cheerleader, and the film seems to think this in and of itself is funny. And then we see him try out for cheerleaders, and a large woman falls on him. And see, that's funny too, because the movie wants you to know that people who go to the gym too much are jock assholes, and that. But fat people are also bad. This movie really hates fat people. There's also a character named Dwight who is he says things in a high voice sometimes, and that's how you know he's important. Anyway, so the gym, Peter LaFleur's gym, Average Joe's, is behind on making its mortgage payments. And it's falling apart, so now that they can't pay their mortgage, it's going to default, and then will be purchased by White Goodman, who is played by Ben Stiller, and he if this movie was made now, he'd say Gainsborough a lot, but he's not a bro. He's a bro. That is. He's very Ben Stillery though. He's got this. He's got a mustache, and he takes himself very seriously. He's from Globo Gym, and they want to buy out Peter's gym, which is dilapidated and falling apart. And you know that that's bad. And they don't even want to keep his gym up. They want to turn Average Joe's into a parking lot, which would be a downer. But then an attorney named Kate shows up to work on Goodman's transaction. And he attempts to seduce her. And he says, "We should mate." And she says, "What?" And he says, "We should date. Go on a date sometime." And then Kate says, "I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit." And she says that it would be a conflict of interest to date someone she's working for. Then the Average Joe people decide they want to raise money. So first, they decide they're going to have a sexy car wash, but it's just these awkward men, and I don't know if it's sexist or homophobic. It's uncomfortable though. I'm not sure these jokes have aged very well, actually. Then, after that fails, Gordon, who is a very awkward man with thick glasses, Gordon suggests that maybe they should try entering in a dodgeball tournament. And this is where we find the crux of the film, the dodgeball tournament. Because dodgeball is the core, dodgeball is the message. Dodgeball, we must understand, is an ancient sport. It is a sport of honor. While you might think of it as a game that you played as a child for your gym class, dodgeball was a game that was deadly. It was played with large rocks and petrified matter, and was intense workout for the tribes that invented it. It was a way to encourage tribesmen to work together. A missionary named James Carlyle saw what was happening and was intrigued by the agility and ruthlessness of the tribal men, as well as by the solidarity and heart they were showing. At least, that's the story that we find on the internet. I choose to believe that these guys just knew there was a white guy coming to visit, and they came up with a game so they could throw things at him. Because, he wasn't from around here. He'd probably think it was something deep or spiritual. What a dummy. Eventually, the ball was played with a leather ball instead, which was still hard but not dangerously so. The sport was played on an open field with no restrictions as to where the players could go. But soon, dodgeball would come to be the glorious sport we know it as today, and the subject of our film. Let us return to the story of Dodgeball. A true underdog story. The men from Average Joe's decide to join the Dodgeball tournament. If they get to the finals, they could win the $50,000 they need to save their beloved gym. So to train, they watch a 1950s dodgeball film starring Patches O'Houlihan. We'll get back to him and the glorious message he brought to all of us. Patches O'Houlihan gives them the importance, the basics of dodgeball. Dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. The men enter the tournament at a local level and play against a Girl Scout troop, but they are decimated by the Scouts. Still, they make it into the tournament because one of the Scouts was clearly using steroids. And the joke here is super transphobic. Really uncomfortable. I half expect Tucker Carlson to actually just straight up use a clip from this as to why trans people shouldn't be allowed to play sports. It's quite bad. It's very bad. Unfortunately for our heroes, Ben Stiller's Dwight Goodman is spying on him and decides to form a dodgeball team to defeat Vince Vaughn, which is kind of weird, right? I mean, they didn't do very well in their first round, but he decides to form a team to defeat him. Luckily for Peter LaFleur, he is approached by an aged Patches O'Houlihan, played by the actor Rip Torn, who offers to train the men in how to play dodgeball, but they need another player. They need to gain a full team, and so Kate, the actress I mentioned earlier, joins them, and now they have a token girl character. Patches O'Houlihan, of course, for his training, doesn't just rely on dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge. He gives them ancient wisdom that I think speaks to us to this day. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. And so he sends the men from Average Joe's gym to run out and dodge traffic and to dodge the wrenches that he throws at them. Wrenches are, of course, a very useful tool, as you can see. The wrench is, of course, a versatile tool. It was invented in Springfield, Massachusetts on August 17th of 1835 by Solomon Merrick of Springfield. The wrench technology was inspired by different types of stone tools from centuries before. In 1858, Charles Monkey invented the monkey wrench. It's not actually derived from a racial slur. Trust me, there's enough problematic content in this movie. We don't need to be saying racist wrench names. It's bad. I'm not sure where that came from. I could probably look it up on Know Your Meme or something. It's not a work though. So just remember that if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Let us return to our story. Our heroes of Average Joe's eventually meet up with the other team assembled by Globo Gym. And they are the Globo Gym Cobras, with names like Laser and Blazer. And it's kind of I didn't notice that this was a joke until I was a grown ass adult. But like it's the Joes and the Cobras. It's a reference to the 1980s cartoon G.I. Joe, where G.I. Joe fights Cobra. It's very clever. Yes. So now that they have formed their own team, the Joes and the Cobras have no choice but to face off. But first, they have to enter the tournament. And the first round, they need to play in uniform. They must always play in uniform. But the team's packages get mixed up. So instead of getting their dodgeball uniforms, they receive BDSM gear. And so our heroes are forced to play dodgeball in BDSM gear, which is embarrassing for them. Then after they win the round, they trade uniforms with the pseudo-masochists who ordered the BDSM gear. There are a variety of other teams that play, and it's broadcast on a station called ESPN 8, The Ocho, who only show obscure sports. As things look like they might win, and as our heroes, the Joes, get ready for a tournament with the Cobras, things start to fall apart. First, Patches O'Houlihan is killed by a falling sign, which, downer, I guess, that's their coach. Then one of the members, Justin, leaves because his friend Amber, the cheerleader, needs help because she's also in Las Vegas at a cheerleading tournament. And Peter thinks he's lost a teammate. Upset, he tells Steve that he's not a pirate, which breaks Steve's spirits. Then he encounters Ben Stiller once again. Stiller's character, Goodman, which is an interesting name, White Goodman, because he is white and he is a man, but he is not good. White Goodman offers him $100,000 for the deed and to throw the dodgeball match. And without enough members to compete. Peter is willing to accept the offer. But just when he thinks that it will be over and that he is sold out, he encounters Lance Armstrong at a bar, who inspires him to get back into the game. This is probably also a good time to point out that there was this point where Lance Armstrong was not considered a fraud and was actually rather inspiring to people. Again, this movie is very 2004. It's a little not comfortable. Oh, also, one of Peter's players on the Average Joes hooks up with a woman who would not generally be considered attractive, which is funny somehow. I'm starting to think this might have been a bad choice for a story. Anyway, guilted by Lance Armstrong, Peter returns, but he's too late. Because he is late, he would have to forfeit the match. And the only way that it could be undone is if a majority of judges overturn the forfeit. And initially, there's a tie, but the tie is broken by Chuck Norris. Okay, this is another time where I really feel like we have to address how 2004 this movie is. Believe it or not, Chuck Norris was the subject of internet memes, and we didn't realize, I guess, at the time that he was this really hateful conservative nutbar. So it was just him existing was funny for some people, I guess. So he shows up and he says, "The dodgeball must go on." And so after an intense game, they have a sudden death dodgeball match. Inspired by a vision of Patches O'Houlihan, Peter blindfolds himself and is able to dodge the ball thrown by Ben Stiller. But Stiller is not done yet. Having been defeated, Goodman, Ben Stiller's character, points out that Peter already sold him the deed for $100,000, so it doesn't matter. But then Peter says he bet the $100,000 on the Joes winning. So, and because the odds against them were 50-1, he collects $5 million. And because Globo Gym is a publicly traded company, he purchases controlling interest in it. And they bring out the money in a box that says Deus Ex Machina, because the writers didn't actually want this happy ending, and it was forced on them by the studio, so they wanted to make fun of that. So it says Deus Ex Machina on it. And then a woman shows up to kiss Kate, and one of the other team member says, I told you she was a lesbian. But then she's like, I'm not a lesbian, I'm a bisexual. And she kisses Vince Vaughn, Peter, as well. And so, we wouldn't be complete without playing into the stereotype that bisexuals are promiscuous. So it's this whole thing. And they imply that Vince Vaughn's going to have a three-way with these women, which is really uncomfortable, like, from a queer perspective. Like, I don't, like, is this other woman bisexual? Are they into that? This just seems extremely problematic. I'm not comfortable. I'm not, I'm having second thoughts about this. Anyway, all the characters end up happy, and the the Justin, the cheerleader boy, gets married to the cheerleader girl that he liked, and the the awkward man begins dating the unattractive woman because, again, I guess that's fun, but they're happy, so that's something. And then Peter opens a renovated Average Joe's and tells them that it's okay to do whatever exercise you want, except for, if you're fat and ugly, if the movie thinks you're ugly, in which case you're still bad. You're still a punchline. And just in case you didn't understand that fat people were bad, we have one last shot of Ben Stiller in a fat suit, and he's eating ice cream and chicken, and he let himself go because he's upset, and he's angry at Chuck Norris. The end. I hope you all enjoyed my story tonight. Remember that you can get more stories by probably listening to some audiobooks, or I heard that audio drama of Sandman was really good. So you should probably take a look at that. I didn't actually get to listen to it yet. Did you guys see Good Omens? Good Omens was really good, right? Yeah, it was really good. I liked it. Do you guys I don't know. This is maybe April 1st was a bad day to start doing ASMR. I hope you're resting well. I hope you have a good sleep. And wait, are you? Oh wow, some of you really did get off. Oh wow. Oh wow. Wow. Wowie wow wow. 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 Wow.